All right. Welcome to the, are you ready, Tom? Did you say yes? Okay. Welcome to the April 16, 2014 meeting of the Wareham Finance Committee. That's called roll call, if you will, Madam Clerk.
Present are Larry McDonald, Marilyn Jordan, Joan Fonts, David Hurd, Tom Worthen, and Bonnie Catulli.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody here for citizens participation? Okay, another great night of that. Keeping with our theme, we're looking for at least 2 good members for the Finance Committee. We will be down at least 2, possibly 3 members on July 1st, 2014. You don't have to have any special qualifications, just the desire to learn how municipal government and municipal finance works. Most of us start on this committee, we have very little knowledge of it, and by the time it's over with, we're saying things and spouting things that we had no idea where they come from. So anybody can do it, and the best way to do it is pick up an application at the Selectman's office, or you can get one through the town website, or you can email fincom, F-I-N-C-O-M, at wareham.ma.us. Thank you. Sponsored by whatever. Is there anything you want to discuss with us, Mr. Town Administrator? Especially since I didn't know we were getting this, and thank you for this.
Which one's that? Is that the...
Water pollution control.
Yeah, did everybody get a copy of that?
Did everybody get a copy?
Yes.
Yes.
Why? Okay.
Included with the memo that's in there as well.
What memo?
If you open up the first page, there should be...
This one?
Yeah, there should be a memo in there.
Memorandum.
That's not original to their report. That's just... that's my memo. So I would urge everybody to read that. In the memo, the key part is, I think the most important one of it is recommendation 5, which is on the second page of that. And if you want me to bore everyone, I can read through it. But.
It's one of those reports, if we had it in advance, we probably would have a lot more questions.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to have some, especially from, I don't know, that end of the table, I'm thinking. So.
I would doubt that.
Or right there.
I'm trying to read and understand what it means.
All right, well, let's read it. Do you want to? Yeah, we got time.
You want to read it
We're
out
not
loud?
in a hurry.
Yeah.
All right, DOR recommendation 5, and just so you know, their recommendation 5, I believe, is on the page 10 of their report. It starts. During the review and ensuing discussions, the Department of Revenue did not like that the town had 2 funds for the WPCF, an operating fund known as $60,000 and a capital projects fund known as $60,001. The capital projects fund was created by the town accountant in FY10. Such a fund is not allowable, and there is no authority to create such a fund. The fund contained betterment prepayments and betterment revenue. Tracking the betterment prepayments and having them in a segregated account is good practice, and as part of the remedy, there will be an account set up in Fund 60,000 called Fund Balance Reserved for Betterment Debt Service. This fund will have $3,431,700 in it, which is the difference between the betterment debt, both principal and interest, remaining to be paid, and the apportioned betterments left to collect. Attached are 2 documents labeled A and B. Document A is a memo from the Department of Revenue on how to properly allocate the funds from the 60,001 account. Document B is a spreadsheet showing how the funds will be allocated. A simple review is that the fund balance in the water pollution control facility is $7,388,995, of which $3,431,700 is reserved for betterment debt service. $435,829 must be used for like projects such as infrastructure. The $296,113 deficit is part of the final bond, and as such is actually part of the betterment debt. The unreserved fund balance of $3,817,579 is essentially retained earnings and would be certified as such if a recertification were requested. The retained earnings should be used in future projects, especially capital projects, to help offset the cost to ratepayers. This covers recommendation number 5 of the DOR report.
So you want to put that in simple terms I can understand?
That was simple terms.
That was simple
No,
terms?
I like that.
Okey-dokey then.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm getting at is that shows that we're okay. We
We're
don't
okay.
have a deficit created by anything at this point.
No, if you go to the Memo B, you'll see what you have for the betterment debt payments, principal and interest left, which is $21,147,937. And you have the apportioned betterments left to collect, essentially, which is $17,716,237. So the difference between those is $3,431,700, which we have put into the fund balance reserve for betterment debt service. Now, these are all in Fund 60,000. You should have just the one fund. You can
Right.
have different
Accounts.
different accounts within there, but you should not create a separate fund. So that basically has solved the issue where we asked if we were to collect, all the monies, what would the deficit at the end of all these betterment projects be? And as such, when we receive any more prepayments, they will go into that account. So that's where they will be properly allocated to make sure that at the end of all these betterments, there should be no deficit, there should be no surplus, it should be a zero balance.
And so what we did for the town meeting article, the water pollution control facility, is correct. We're good to go on that.
Right, because we're budgeting betterment revenue, and you'll also see betterment reserves. What should be collected or what's going to be sent out to be collected is approximately 1.7 million, of which we'll receive 1.4 million, and the rest, the 300,000, will be from the betterment reserves.
Okay. All right. Questions? Yes.
So, have they fixed this already? Have they moved this already? Has the treasurer moved this money?
The treasurer wouldn't do this. This would be the accounting office that would make the adjustments for this.
So have they
So,
done this already?
no, they're in the process. This is actually a massive task to do.
So when we pull the money for the water pollution control out at the town meeting, it will come out of which fund? And then there'll be another adjustment to make, right?
No, there's only one fund, 60,000. 60,001 will essentially not exist anymore.
Mr. Hurd?
On, on the spreadsheet on B, would you just go over that betterment debt payments, principal and interest? That's what we owe,
Correct.
as I understand. The $17,716,237 is what's remaining to be collected.
Right, that's what would be outstanding, what we have apportioned for people to pay into the future.
In that case, wouldn't the balance be a deficit?
The deficit is the 3,431,700 if you projected that out into the future. We have that 3,431,700 in a fund balance reserved for betterment debt service account.
So we already have that money
Correct.
in the account.
That's the
Correct.
prepaid
All right.
prepaid betterments, correct?
Yes.
All right.
So that's prepaid. Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Junior, talk at the end of your memo, it says, the unreserved fund balance, blah, 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 is essentially retained earnings and will be certified as such if the certification was requested. The retained earnings should be used in future projects to help offset the cost to ratepayers. Future projects in what sense? You mean capital upgrades? What is that?
Capital, maybe redoing the whole Swift's Beach, redoing Onset. The things that, those aren't betterment projects in the future. Those are for the ratepayers as a whole from the water pollution control facility would have to fund. So if you had to redo all the lines in Swift's Beach, those aren't bettered projects. They've already paid their betterments.
Oh, that's what I mean. I mean, it's hookups that already exist, lines that already, people
Correct.
that are already on the system in the event something were to break or need to be replaced, et
Right.
cetera, it would come out of that.
Correct.
stream. Okay, thank you.
And the estimated projects, this is a wide variance, but is anywhere from 20 to 30 million within the next, likely 20 years would need to be expended. And you'd have to start expending that money now to reach that, so.
Okay.
Any money that you can use out of the retained earnings for capital will actually save the ratepayers money because they will not have to borrow with interest on it.
Okay,
So-
but when they talked about this, I mean, when we talk about tapping into retained earnings, it should be for those upgrades or those improvements, not using it to supplement the operating as it's been drawn off before. Am I correct?
Right, over the last few years, what they've done is and this is, it's allowable, but it's not the best practice. They've used retained earnings to lower the EDU rate.
Okay, so they were using a broad definition of this and allowing it, but it's just not highly recommended
Yeah, and you can lower the rates by
by
yeah,
using retained.
yeah by bringing retained earnings in. But if you're just going to say, okay, well, we're going to use $1 million of retained earnings to lower your rate, but guess what? We're going to spend $1 million worth of capital, and
Right.
your rate's going to go back up. I mean, that's just
Right.
a shell game. So why not just use the
Okay,
retained
yep.
earnings for capital?
Thank you.
I think the most important thing for me is that we have a reconciliation of the betterments. That's the key for me. Not knowing where we stood versus the debt was a big issue with me, and knowing that we had in the past used retained earnings to supplement the operations budget, that was a major concern of mine. And not only do we now have a reconciliation, we have the DOR's findings on it, so
Yeah.
we can proceed. And now that at town meeting, they'll be able to see the water pollution control facility budget in detail. That makes a big difference as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next. We're not gonna, we're not going to go over this tonight. This, our next meeting back from town meeting, we'll go over this, the actual audit report.
Yeah.
Unless anybody wants to do it tonight, we can do it when we get back. I would encourage you to read it and have your questions ready, and then we will grill Mr. Sullivan viciously at that point. Is that fair enough?
That's perfect.
Okay. You can see I got off work and came straight here, huh? I'm still working on it.
If you saw in your pink booklet for the special, there was just a few changes in some of the dollars when you saw for the LED lights to bring in all the facilities that we want to use. It went over 100,000. I think it was 103,000 change. That we also went over the total deficit for snow and ice, which upped the what we'd like to pull from free cash to 300,000. Although that will still be over $50,000 short from the. So that will end at approximately $56,000 in deficit if we don't have any more snow events. And I think those were the only changes that
You're
had been
making a
made.
joke, Derek? Any more snow events like this morning, Reed?
It was when I saw the ice in my car, I said, "All right, well, I'll just hit it with the windshield wipers. It's warm enough out." And they did not move. We had to scrape right through that. I was shocked.
And then this, sorry, I'm over here strategizing. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we get into the town meeting issues?
No, I think those are the main items. We're working on, and I don't think I'll wait to give it to you to the next meeting. I'll try and give you an electronic copy of having the revenue and expenditure reports.
Through when?
Yeah, through March.
Okay.
So, but we did get notification, I think I spoke about this already, from the Veterans Department, that there'll be approximately $32,000 transfer that they'll require. That's just, we've asked them to do a better job of when they're signing more people up to alert us, so it's not in the last quarter of the year for us to know when we're going to have an issue. Board of Health looks like they may need some money in the salary line. The only other departments, the streetlights are going high, but I honestly, there's a project that was hit to them that I believe should have been part of a separate grant account, and I think we're waiting on a journal entry, but I want to confirm that. The police department, I believe that they're right now, they're 0.08 or 0.8% over where they should be, which is a little over 30,000, which is honestly 10 times better than they were at this point last year. But I would believe they will end the year in a deficit of approximately $70,000 because we're going to have one more buyout of a retirement, and we've had another long-term injury on the department. And at this point, we can, I commend Chief Walsh for all he's done. We've been trying to bring it within line, but I would say we've got an estimate about $70,000. So, but everything else, some of the expenses are projecting over where they should be. But again, you can't necessarily take it and break it down in a 12-month cycle when some of their costs are one-time costs at the beginning of the year. So it doesn't necessarily break down, but they're looking well. The library budget is extremely high, but that's because they've been waiting for the $70,000 from the, I believe it was the trustees. So with that $70,000, that's supposed to make the journal entries to hit that off. They should be well within their budget.
Will we have a copy of the transfers before?
That's, I'm working with the town accountant. We expect to have it by the end of this week. Our ultimate goal is similar to what we did last year, is to make sure that the transfers that we're making are the ones we need. We try not to rely on the Municipal Relief Act because it's, and there's a lot of restrictions on that. So that's usually for maybe some of the smaller items and such. The clerk's office, there was an issue with some of the ballots, but we're working to see if we can expend it on some of our budgets. So.
Okay, yeah, just as long as we have it that night to vote on it, because I think according to this, we've already recommended it, so it better be good, because we'll change that right away.
I appreciate your support in these future transfers.
That's anticipation of your greatness,
Yeah.
so.
You may
Well,
have to
I don't
wait
think
a while for greatness.
actually, we didn't actually recommend it. We did recommend the transfers because it was within Chapter 44, Section 33B. So that's not really a ringing endorsement or anything, but I don't know. It's something.
We do have one union that I believe the selectmen will vote in open session on Tuesday to ratify, and so we'll have at least one union contract being brought forward.
Okay, so we'll have that to do. We'll meet at 6 p.m. the night of town meeting to kick off anything that we have to do at the very end. But we'll be able, if you get that to us electronically before our next meeting, which is not till, that's the part I hate. 24th. We'll probably meet the 7th. We'll meet the 7th, we'll go over that, we'll go over the audit report, and we have another piece of information to go over, so we can get back to normal business as usual at that point. So if you can get it to us in advance, the members of this committee have an opportunity to read through those reports and get their comments ready for you.
Okay.
All right, you're going to hang around for just a little bit. So I want to address a couple things up front. Been holding on to this for a little while. When the topic came up of overrides, I went back and there's a report by the Department of Revenue that's issued. It's issued in 3 pieces. I believe it's like 80 something to 90 to whatever, into 2000 to present, or present at that time was 2012, and it lists all the overrides, attempts, passes, and fails by towns. And since we're always being compared to Bourne, Carver, Marion, Mattapoisett, and Rochester, I went back and took that report and broke it down by town, how many they've attempted, how many they've had that won, and how many that passed. And the only one that I will have this electronically sent to you. I was going to have it ready for the meeting, but Kelly, I didn't get it to Kelly in time. So it's my fault. I'll take full blame. I thought it was interesting that Bourne has attempted 5 overrides since 1986. And they've won 3 and they've lost 2. And they've basically had an amount of $4,155,500 worth of overrides passed for Bourne during that period of time. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it does to me when you're compared to a town and, why can't we do that? Well, there you go. So I will make sure you have a copy of this electronically so you can review it.
So what was that 4 million made up of?
A general operating budget, $2,285,000. Public schools expenditures, $1.5 million, and funding additional police services, $370,500. The ones that failed were the general operating expense for $530,000, and the reopening and staffing fire station for $225,000. So they basically funded operations, is what they did with their override. So, I encourage everybody to read the local newspapers, not just Wareham, because you find out a lot about different towns around us, and we get a bad rap, but we're not in this group yet. So that's something I wanted to bring up. The other thing is, I know there's been a lot of topic and discussion on the state involvement, if the state is ever going to get involved. People have done a great deal of research out there, but the one thing that's missing is a conversation with the DOR, which we had, a month and a half, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
When I said I needed to ask the questions, how does it work? Why does it work? How does it happen? I did ask those questions, and so I'm going to read this because I'm starting to figure out that I can't talk well off the cuff when I get my emotions involved. So there's been long discussions about state involvement, including the terms bankruptcy and receivership. Comparisons have been made to cities like Springfield, Mass, and towns like Chelsea, Mass. While valid in those municipalities, there are vast differences between cities and towns. In fact, each municipality in the Commonwealth is different. The one missing piece, which is extremely important, is the Department of Revenue. If you want to know what could happen, it's important to go to the source. Past case studies shed some light on the possibilities, but they cannot be used to predict what happens if the state steps in or if the state will step in. First and foremost, the Department of Revenue handles each municipality on a case-by-case basis. There are no cookie-cutter solutions. The one thing that is one thing that I took out of that conversation was the state does not want to come here. I don't know any other way to say it. It was basically says, we don't want to step in, but if we do, you're not going to like it. That was the comment that was made to us. And then they went over the 4 levels of state involvement. There's an overseer, there's a control board, there's receivership, and there's bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is very rare, and it's almost, it is a last measure taken when it's impossible to find a viable solution. Simply stated, that's probably not going to happen here. The big question then was asked, when does the state step in? And the answer is when the Department of Revenue, well, we can't set our tax rate. The state will be involved at that point. Has that happened here? No. Has it come close? Yes. Is the state watching us closely? Yes. They've made that comment as well. As far as raising our tax levy, which is another one that people continue to go over, it takes a special act through the legislation for this to happen, and I can't tell you if it's going to happen or if it's not going to happen because it's silly for us to guess. That's something that we lose all control of making that decision. That's made by the state. Once they step in, our Board of Selectmen, our school committee, they will now work for the state. And whoever that is, hello there. The best plan of action is to work together to provide our own solutions. I remember the conversation so well with the Department of Revenue and that statement that he made, if the state steps in, we're not going to like it. That stuck with me. So let's solve our own problems and maintain our own ability to make government work for us. Otherwise, we're not going to like it. Anybody comments? I know it didn't shed a bit of light, did it? It did. It tells you when the state tells you when they're going to step in when you can't set your tax rate. So, and as far as what they do, there's no easy answer to that because it's up to them how they want to handle it. So I can't speculate on what they will do when they come in here, but I can guarantee you, if somebody tells me from the state that we're not gonna like it, I believe them. And I prefer not to do that. So, onward. You have a copy of the special Springtown meeting warrant, and you have a copy of the regular Springtown meeting warrant. It's the way it's laid out. Mrs. Cattouli already found an error. We are apparently going to pay our moderator a severe amount of money, which we will now correct. On Article 3, there was an error. Town clerk didn't get much money, but the town moderator did.
Is that ever in the spring or the
It's in the spring annual town meeting warrant,
thank you.
Article 3.
But she deserves that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a question of what she deserves. I think it's a question of how the town clerk might react to that. So,
Were they reversed?
yeah, they were reversed. We'll fix it.
Sorry, Kelly.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Blame it on there.
Yeah. The dentist.
I want to thank everybody for working through the advice and getting the other information in here, because this is probably the largest report of the Finance Committee town meeting warrant I've seen, and it is very thorough. And we got to thank Kelly for sitting behind a computer and being frustrated with all of us probably at some point, putting this together. It was not easy to put together. So if you have a chance, read through those. If you have any changes, could you email Kelly as quick as possible before they print the other, 4,000, whatever it is, 4,000. I told you it was going to be a short meeting tonight. Logistics. What we had decided to do, and I guess there's a meeting to go over the motions. Did I tell you that, Bonnie? Yes, I did. I think I did. On Thursday at 2 p.m.?
It's either 2 or 2:30.
Yeah, 2:30. If you got a chance, if you can make it. If not, they'll get the.
Tomorrow?
That would be tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
If you
Where?
can. Where's it at? Is it going to be up in the room 23?
23.
Yeah. And you're going to be there.
At what time?
2:30.
2 o'clock I thought it was, or maybe
Alright.
that's we're meeting early, but in room 23.
We'll do it like we did last year. We'll list them on a separate piece of paper in larger font so they're easy to read. And my understanding is on Monday night, Mrs. Cattouli will read them, and Tuesday night, Mrs. Fonts will read them, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do have 2:30.
Do you have 2:30? I might have another.
Changed.
If
Yeah.
Derek's involved, it'll be a half hour late, just so you know. The other thing is the advice and votes. Originally, I had planned to just have Mr. Hurd and Mrs. Donahue read them, but what we decided to do is because we have 2 books, we're going to assign this book. Mr. Tubbs has agreed to read the advice for this book. We'll also list the votes and the advice separate on a piece of paper. Hopefully, we won't have any problem with that, but on the other night, or on the other Springtown meeting warrant, Mr. Hurd and Mrs. Donahue will get together and decide who's reading what. Actually, we were looking for Mr. Hurd to read most of it, except for a couple of the articles. That way, it's easier. What the town clerk said to me, and as well as I think it was last year in our meeting, is it's easier if one voice reads them, because that person, they'll get used to reading them. They'll have them in advance. They'll be able to practice them, because whatever you read is what goes in to the same thing with the motion. That's what goes into the notes of the meeting. So you have one person or 2 people. That way you keep it simple. Anybody have any questions so far? Don't everybody be quiet. Is everybody in a hurry to get out of here? Is that what it is?
Take you at your word.
Oh, believe me when I tell you, I'm tired. I have my opening remarks, which will be just a little bit different than the beginning of the letter that we write. I don't even know where it's at. It's in here. this is the one that I guess I had the committee go through and make changes. So I've made most of the changes. If you don't see them in there, let me know. And then I'll just read my opening remarks, which will be very short and sweet. We need to keep this town meeting simple. I think we did such a good job in the fall. I don't know. I think everybody was here for that. We just want to keep it simple as we can at town meeting. We don't want to overthink. So, anybody have any questions about town meeting at all? Oh, come on. You got some thoughts going through your head. None?
I might not be present.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Try.
Well, you don't need to try. You need to take care of what
I know,
you need
but
to take care
I should be
of.
all right. I should be there. Al, if not Alan, I'll never hear the end of it. So I'll be there.
Well, I would rather you not stress yourself for that.
I know, but there should be plenty of time.
You're more important than town meeting, so.
I'll show up.
All right.
Question, Larry.
Yes, ma'am.
Questions from the audience? Does one person want to take those? You, for instance?
Normally, the questions will come.
Moderator will.
Pardon me?
When the question's asked, then the moderator asks you, if you raise to answer the question, isn't that how it's usually presented?
Normally, the questions are, well, the ones that I know of that will come up will usually be directed at either the town administrator or the chairman of the select. No, yeah.
School superintendent on the budget.
And we'll have them as present as well. Last meeting, we rarely got up. I think we got up twice the entire meeting because our advice pretty much speaks for the finance committee. We had to get up and correct a few misstatements. Is that a good word?
Yeah.
And that's really all we do is we correct the misstatements. That's the one difficulty I have with this. You know, you're even though you're a voter, you're representing the finance committee, so it's difficult for me sometimes to what I'd like to get up and say sometimes versus what I should get up and say. But as the chairman of the finance committee and as a member of this finance committee, I don't want to. I want to argue from the finance committee standpoint if I have anything to say. So, you know, and there will be some things that come up at town meeting that might make you want to jump up. If they do, you got to do what you got to do. I just remember, you know, you're a member of the finance committee. It's a weird position to be in. You have a vote just like anybody else.
But if you have a question as a voter, you can get up and walk out to the mic out front. And,
No, just stand up there and ask
well,
the
whatever,
question.
but you
yeah.
can say that this question is you as a personal voter and not on the finance committee. That's been done before in the past.
I don't think that, this is the cool thing about the way we did it this time. I don't think there's many questions about things in here. We've already reviewed them, we've been through them, so we don't ask many questions. We tend to end up either disputing bad statements or misunderstandings. Yes, I like that word. Misinformation. And there will be some. I also understand one article is being pulled.
But don't bite your tongue.
There'd be two.
Is that on the
Board-
special or
The Board of Health Vehicles on the
Don't bite your
special.
tongue. If you got something to say,
No,
say
it's
it.
another one. I thought
And
Liz
then
wrote
the
it.
the Marchant Way or
Question as a voter.
Bayshore.
Is that already pulled in our thing?
This is a non-paid
No, they've been
position.
there,
You're a
that's
voter
been there.
donating your time. If you got something to say, like speak, you
That'll be at the motion meeting tomorrow.
You shouldn't either.
That'll be at the motion meeting tomorrow that someone is pulling that, so the motion will change to, I move to pass over this article or whatever it's going to be. Also, we'll probably have some changes as we have a meeting with the town moderator so that anything that we can combine together as we do with the labor contracts, we'll combine them together. There'll be a move as printed in the warrant or as printed on the screen. Those might be motions too, so that may change the motions too as well, but that's not something to worry about. And we're also going to look to take the financial articles, and I just call them that for lack of a better term, together, because it's very difficult with our bingo ball system that we use at town meeting for us to, you know, you have a 6 that's dependent on a 7, 7's dependent on a 6. You have other things like the water pollution control facility and the EMS that are part of 6 that, you know, we're going to try to get those to be taken as a group in order that we think is necessary. So should be fun.
fun.
Well, it is. It's it is fun. You've got the opportunity to see every one of these articles, vote on them, talk about them, and now town meetings, where our job's basically done. Unless somebody asks a question we can answer, or we, like, again, misinformation, then our job's done. We just sit up there and look pretty. Most of us do, some of us don't, so I'm sorry. Any questions on town meeting? Hey, Bonnie, this is the quickest meeting ever. All right, we need a vote, I need a motion to approve invoice, whatever that says, I-17440-163 from WB Mason in the amount of $75.32 for supplies for printing special town meeting warrant.
So moved.
So moved, yes.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? How many we got here? 700. You all sign it. Is this it?
You have to sign that, I guess we have to sign the actual.
All right, you can date them later. I get those at work. Do you not have, and you got it matched up in the back. Very good. And this is the you could have had Bonnie do it. Would have worked just fine.
What is, so what's, pre-town meeting next week? I mean,
Well, I
what-
haven't got there yet. Well, you're just waiting. You really want out of here, aren't you? Any other business? Oh, next week, or not
You
next week?
jump down to D before you finish C1 and 2.
No, everybody knows that we, okay, I'm sorry. Beat me, kick me. April 24th, it's not mandatory, but so far I think pretty much everybody on the committee will be there. I haven't heard anybody say no.
24th, I will not be there.
All right,
What,
then
I
that's,
mean, are we doing it here? What are we doing?
we're gonna do it in this room. The town moderator, the finance committee will have, Mr. Bowen, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Slavin, Mrs. Shaverhood, and probably Michael McMillan to answer any questions. And again, we're not debating articles. We're just it's for information purposes, and we will post a meeting for that just because there will be deliberation. So are you gonna be here, Tom? Are you going to be here? Okay. So we will have that on the 24th. It starts at 6:30, is it 6:30? Yeah.
6:30.
I don't anticipate a giant crowd as you've seen with ours, but you never know. And again, it's more logistics in trying to go through the process. We may even get to, if we have everything ready, we could probably read the motions at that time too. I doubt it, but you never know. And I don't think Mr. Sullivan will have the transfers ready by then.
I don't know. We
Yeah,
can,
okay. So I'm sorry I skipped that. Any other business? Mr. Worthen gave me a report, wherever it is. It's the economic growth of Wareham. And I'm going to have Kelly make copies for our, can we scan it and do it electronically? We'll scan it and send it out electronically, and we'll
Is
put
that the
that
one I
on.
gave you, Larry?
Pardon me?
Is that the one I gave
Oh, it's
you?
the one, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Dom gave me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I couldn't remember who gave it to me.
I did. I was part of that.
Oh, okay.
Alan,
All right, so
sent me to go.
what we'll do is we'll get a chance to read through it. We'll get a chance to read
It
through
was
the
pretty good.
financials through March, and we'll get a chance to read through these documents and go over that in our next meeting on the, whatever it is, the 4th. 7th. Yes. The 7th, so we'll go over that. That means back to business as usual. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 26, 2014.
So moved.
second.
Second. Everybody read through 'em?
I have to abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? There's 2 abstentions, so that would be 502. I'm on tonight. I can count tonight. I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes of March 27th, 2014. Who wasn't here? Everybody was here for that, weren't we?
So moved.
Nope, there's one. All those. Okay, Jeff's not here tonight anyway, so, all right. Got the move, I need a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? That'd be 601. Next meeting will probably be after, no, it'll be town meeting night at 6 PM, but the pre-town meeting is next week on Thursday, not Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, caught you, didn't I?
What'd you say?
The
What?
pre-town meeting is on Thursday, the 24th.
24.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I'm just not doing my job. I didn't inform everybody.
I may bail on you at the last moment.
Story of my life.
Sorry, yeah,
It's okay. Well, it's just,
it's all right.
it wasn't a mandatory thing. We've all worked
I
real
didn't
hard.
realize
And
that it was a Thursday, not a Wednesday.
well, my personal feeling is we weren't going to have one, and we were going to take that week off to recharge, but we need to have one. This is kind of a very important time. All right. If no one else has anything else?
Larry, it's already,
Are we gonna have one on the 23rd?
No, ma'am.
you see the paper already about it?
What?
It's already in the paper,
What's in the paper?
about the pre-town meeting on the 24th.
Yeah.
It's in tonight's paper.
Okay. Does it tell us what we've already done?
I haven't read it, I just saw it.
Did you write that already before we even got started?
I got a little preview of it.
All right. That
The
crystal ball.
preview of the preview.
It says, hear about the issues at pre-town meeting, Proposition 2.5, zoning bylaws, high school roof on agenda.
Okay. So any other crazy comments we got to make tonight? All right, everybody, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Boy, you guys, oh, nobody wants to go? Okay, we can stay longer. I got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstain? 700, good night.
Did you see this guy?